Hello, and welcome to my ideal path to becoming a mix engineer. So, becoming a mix engineer has always been my dream, and it's something I want to eventually accomplish. However, no matter how much you plan in the entertainment industry, you never know what path you're going to end up taking. So, let's get into it. So, what really is a mix engineer? A mix engineer is a person who artfully combines a wide amount of tracks into one final coherent product. They're an extension of what the producer and the artist had in mind. And you have to be able to read what they intended and polish it into one final coherent product. So, what's my plan to becoming to becoming a mix engineer? How can I get there? As it turns out, in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of ways in which you can end up at a certain position. So I'll go over those today. The first way is the studio way. So it's probably the one most of you are most familiarized with, and it's a really traditional way. It's pretty much the way it's been working for a really long time. You start at a low-level position, such as an intern or something like a studio setup worker, and you start through hard work and eagerness to learn. You start working your way up to eventually becoming a recording engineer or a mixing engineer. The good thing about this way is that it's a much more direct approach. So, the position I would aspire to get straight out of Full Sail would be as a studio setup worker. This is an entry-level position. And pretty much what my job would have to be there is setting up gear and trying to make all the recording sessions as fluid as possible with interfering as the less amount possible. So what that means is I have to be extremely unobtrusive and just be a fly on the wall, learning from everything the people above me are doing. The skills you have to have there is hard work and an eagerness to learn, because people above you will realize that and try to help you. The goal here to eventually becoming a mix engineer is that through a studio setup worker, it will help me prepare for future positions, and I can slowly make my way up through the studio. The other good thing is that from day one, I'm already interacting with mix engineers, and most of them are eager to help out people below them. So it is an ideal first step, and it's a really good route I could take. Another way is the live event way. This is something that is becoming much more popular nowadays, which is pretty much the same industry, because you're still in the entertainment industry and you're still dealing with audio, but it's a different situation you're put in, which essentially means that you can transfer a lot of the knowledge into the studio. So the position I would aspire to get here would be as a front of house engineer. So a front of house engineer is pretty much the live event equivalent of what a mix engineer is. Their job is to control what the audience hears and blend the performers on stage. They're pretty much a fifth member of a four-piece band, because they have as much control over what the audience hears as anyone in the band, even more. They're also in charge of overall supervision of the front of house setup, which helps me prepare for managerial positions. The thing with the route of the live event and through being a front of house engineer is that it's not a starting gig as the studio setup worker is, but it gives me an alternate route in which I can work my way up. The good thing about this industry is that if I'm able to do something live, it means I'm able to do it in a much shorter amount of time. So once I translate my knowledge into the studio, I'll be a lot more comfortable. So in a way, these two industries are really compatible with each other, and it's good that I have the option to go either way. Now, the third way is somewhat of an alternate route. It's the sound design for film. So this is kind of a different perspective on audio, because you're not working as much with music. It's more of a film. You might be working with music, but it's an overall that you're looking at. So the position here would be as a sound designer. So a sound designer is also a managerial position, and it's not an entry-level job, but it's one which is really compatible with a mix engineer, pretty much because it's mixing on a much larger scale. Instead of a 2-hour film, you're mixing, instead of a 3-minute song, you're mixing a 2-hour movie. You're also overseeing the sound department during pre and post-production. So the goal here is that due to its compatibility with a mix engineer, I could translate, establish myself as a sound designer, and then eventually translate into becoming a mix engineer. That, however, would require me to be really established within the entertainment industry to be able to make such a large jump. So it's somewhat far-fetched.
I sort of wear a lot of hats. I just like making records and I get bored very easily. So I tried to just do a lot of different things. And I think more than just God-given talent, I don't think I have actually a lot of that. I just work very hard at it. I tried writing songs and I wrote a bunch of terrible ones, and then they started getting a little better. And I started producing songs and I produced a bunch of terrible ones and they got better. And the same with mixing and engineering. You suck and then you don't suck as much.
So DJ Swivel graduated from Full Sail University in the same way as I did, but my hopes is that I can follow his lead. And through hard work and eagerness to learn, it doesn't matter the route I take, the point is that I can slowly start heading myself towards becoming a mix engineer. Thank you very much.